This is the procedure summary for the Calculating and Understanding Boiling Point Elevation and Solubility Lab and Internet Activity. Now, before we start, we need to look at the materials needed. The two chemicals we're going to be using are potassium bromide and sodium chloride, which is your typical table salt. We'll need a 500 milliliter beaker. You can use other sizes as long as it's bigger than 250 milliliters, but 500 is probably the best bet. Stirring rod, Celsius thermometer, hot plate, scoopula, plastic weigh plates, and a balance. Some quick safety precautions before we go ahead and get into the procedure itself. Hot plates, obviously they're hot. Do not touch them directly. You will get burned by them, nearly as badly as touching an open flame itself. Be careful, even after you shut it off, let it cool for a while. Beakers. Alert a teacher if a beaker is broken. Never use broken or cracked beakers. They can shatter on you at any time, and they're extremely dangerous. Do not touch hot beakers directly. Use beaker tongs or use oven mitts, which will be provided for you. Goggles, you have to wear them the entire lab. This is not just a school rule, not just a class rule. This is a state rule and a national rule. You have to wear them when using chemicals in the chemistry lab. And then the chemicals themselves, potassium bromide and sodium chloride are not exceptionally dangerous, but even at a low concentration, most chemicals can be dangerous in some way. If you get them on your skin, wash your skin with soap and water. Wash it thoroughly, dry it off, get it off quick. And if you get any in your eyes, which wearing goggles you shouldn't, although sometimes, depending on the type of goggles you're wearing, stuff can splash underneath, immediately proceed to the eye wash station and alert the teacher immediately. Okay, so the setup before we actually begin the lab. You're going to want to turn the hot plate on to the highest setting available, let it warm up. You're going to want to push it away from the ends of the tables, away from where anybody could accidentally brush up against it and burn themselves. It should only take a few short minutes to warm up. They're pretty quick usually. You're going to want to clean an area of all debris and wipe down the counter where you're going to place the balance. And once you've placed the balance there, you're going to want to clean the balance off. Now, you don't want to drench it with water or anything like that. You just want to brush it off, get any loose chemicals that might be still on there off. The reason you don't want to put any kind of water or anything on there because it'll all add to the weight and affect your results. Once you've cleaned it off, some balances have plugs, some are battery powered, but you're going to want to either plug it in and or turn it on. So this leads us into the lab itself. Step one, we're going to place 250 milliliters of water into the 500 milliliter beaker. Now, if you can help it, using distilled water is your best bet. Most chemistry labs make their own distilled water and have a big supply of it that you can use. We're using a lot of water in this lab, though, and depending on how much you have, you might have to use tap water. It will not affect your results greatly. So you're going to place 250 milliliters of water into the 500 milliliter beaker, or whatever size beaker you have. Step 2. Using the plastic weigh plate and the scoopula, you're going to weigh the correct amount of sodium chloride based upon the values in the table. So you're going to go straight down the table by trial, starting with trial 1 and going all the way down to trial 5 with the sodium chloride. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to place the plastic weigh plate on the balance and zero the balance out, because then it will only weigh the sodium chloride. You're going to take your little scoopula and take just a small amount. You don't want to take more than you need. And you're going to place it in the beaker. Now, in the weigh plate. If you go over, it's fine. You can take it back off, put it back inside the container. Try to get as close as possible to your value, though. Once you've done that, you're going to drop it right into the water and mix it until it's dissolved. It will all dissolve in. Once the solute's dissolved, you're going to place the beaker onto the hot plate with the thermometer inside. Okay, you can place the beaker on there first, then put the thermometer in. Doesn't matter. Okay? And at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to closely eye the beaker, and you're going to watch for a steady boil. What I mean by that is not just a couple bubbles, but a continuous rolling boil. Now, the picture I put here is an extreme example, but you'll notice that the bubbles will keep coming up continuously when you're at a steady boil. Once you're there, record the temperature, because that's going to be the boiling point with that specific amount of solute in. Now, once this has happened, you're going to use beaker tongs or gloves to remove the beaker from the hot plate and dump it into the sink. And you're going to allow the beaker to cool before you do anything else. Do not rinse it with cold water until it's cooled down. it will crack. Okay, so take it off there. I would use the gloves if you. Sometimes though the gloves even get too hot, but I would use the gloves. Dump it real fast. Now stay away from where you're dumping it. Obviously the water's hot, and obviously the steam is going to be hot. So just dump it in away from your body into the sink, and then just set the beaker off to the side where nobody's going to touch it, where it has a chance to cool. In a little while, once it's cool, then you can wash it out and clean it and everything. But for now, let it be. This is why we're going to use a certain number of beakers, more than just a handful. Okay. Once you've done that, you're going to repeat steps 1 through 4 using a new amount of sodium chloride. So you're going to go down through trials 2, 3, 4, 5 and add more amounts of sodium chloride each time. And you're going to, you should see right away in your data table what's happening to the boiling point as we increase the molality of the solution. Once you finish with sodium chloride, you're going to use the exact same procedure using various amounts of potassium bromide, okay, which is what's pictured here. It looks a little bit different, but essentially it's going to do almost the same thing. And while you're going along, try to notice, what's happening in these results. Now, while you're waiting for the stuff to boil, one of you can be doing some of the calculations. The other one can be working on, taking a look at the beaker, waiting for the rolling boil to start. Okay, so, make wise use of your time here. So at the end of the trials, the hot plate's going to have to be shut off and allowed to cool. It's going to be extremely hot, and any beaker should be allowed to cool as well. All cool beakers, once they've cooled down, can be washed out with soap and water and put away, as should any other lab equipment. You especially, and this is in all labs, not just this lab, you do not want to return unused chemicals to their containers. Okay, so if for some reason you have a pile of sodium chloride or potassium bromide sitting on your thing, do not take a scoop and put them back in. They've been contaminated with the the air, with the different chemicals in the air and things like that. But neither of these are harmful, so you can throw either of these in the garbage can or wash them down the drain. Okay, they won't harm the environment in any way. They'll dissolve in. Once the hot plate and other beakers have cooled, clean them up, put them away as well, and then finally clean your lab table with a damp paper towel and dry it off. Okay, and at this point, you and your partners can go on and work on the data, and from here, you can, together we'll go and finish the lab in the computer lab. If you have any questions during this, please seek the attention of the instructor. Do not go ahead and try something you think is right if you're not sure. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory. You've been able to view this video, and you'll have a procedure sheet in front of you which summarizes it as well. But any questions that come up, please ask the instructor early on. Once you've done it once or twice, the rest of the procedure is exactly the same for all 10 trials. Okay, and that concludes this procedure summary. So, like I said, ask any questions you might have, and good luck with the procedure.